Welcome to today's episode of Selling the Cloud podcast. Today we are ecstatic to have Jeffrey Gitomer, the king of sales, with us today. Today we'll be covering way too many areas to even count. So, Jeffrey, start us off here. Give us a brief overview of this incredible career you've had and your life journey to leading up to being a guest with us today on Selling the Cloud.
I have 4 daughters, 4 granddaughters, a great-granddaughter, and another great-granddaughter on the way. What else do I need to tell you? You either go fight for those kids and make money, or you fucking die.
Yep. What's the line? Sell or die, right?
Sell or die. That's correct. I have enhanced it now to AI or die.
I love it. All right.
Because you know, people, well, I don't really understand it yet. Dude, it's the future. Nothing is going to happen in this world without AI in the next year if it hasn't already affected you. And you're sitting there drinking a beer, watching Netflix like a fucking idiot.
I love it.
Pardon my French.
No.
We could bleep that out later, I think.
Let's enjoy this.
No, I don't want to bleep it out. Listen, if you're from Philly, language is a different language.
For sure.
No one's gonna, well, I really wouldn't appreciate it if you wouldn't talk like. No one has ever said that in the history of mankind in Philly.
That is true.
Let's go deeper on that, because this is really our Selling the Cloud Philly issue, our Philly edition. And when it comes down to, we have 2 of the most successful sellers that ever came out of Philly here today. So really today, Paul, you're not my guest host. You're a guest here, not a host. So we are excited to dive into this. And when it comes down to it, let's do it here. Let's talk about Philly. Jeffrey, how did growing up in Philly shape your approach to sales?
Paul, I will guarantee you that Paul and I have been to an Eagles game.
I'm not that old, Jeff. Not that old.
I was at the first Boo Santa Claus game. And I became friends later on with Roman Gabriel. He goes, Philly, you're not going to believe what they did there. I'm like, dude,
it's a tough
that's where I grew up. But the challenge is, it's a city that does not give you any slack whatsoever. I mean, if the sign says no parking after 4 p.m., there's a cop at 4:01 towing your car to the fucking yard. And it's $250 in cash to get it out, no credit cards. And so, because they pocket the money. So you have to recognize that this is a city that has no real rules. The mayor's never had rules. The unions have never had rules. That's how you grew up. And you learned how to survive or thrive in that region. I went to Temple University. I majored in marketing and management, but really I majored in football pools and dating. And, that's what you did in the 60s. And it was, I owned 2 racehorses by the time I was 20 years old. So the challenge that everybody has is, how do you make your mark in Philadelphia? And, New York, they say if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. That's bullshit. I'll bet you people in New York could not make it in Philly.
Yeah,
Paul, give us a little bit of your perspective on that.
Right. I always thought a lot of my career was based on, upbringing. And when you're brought up in an inner city, in a blue collar neighborhood and in the city of Philly, there's a level of, grit, toughness, whatever you want to call it, that is different than New York. I think, New York and, Boston get a lot of the highlights. They're definitely, high profile cities, San Francisco. I mean, some, amazing places for technology and business. But if you think about Philly, it is a true blue collar town. It's just, it's a unique environment. And if you can make it through high school and, through college at Temple, and by the way, it's almost a physical challenge to get through it. Unfortunately, we lose a few students a year. It's not a great environment from a perspective of having it easy. But if you do survive, you do thrive. And I think that's one of the things that, at least for me, and I'm sure for Jeffrey as well, it shapes your attitude. And when you get into selling, it's a tough world out there selling, right? I mean, it's never been easy. It's harder, and I think
Yeah. Philly
if you
makes
got the thick
your skin
skin, if you
thick.
can take rejection, I mean, think about the, sales process. It's hard. It's even harder today, and not a lot of folks are built for this profession. It's not a 9 to 5 profession. It's a on 24/7, and it's not sometimes rewarding, and you can't get too high on the highs, too low on the lows, and a lot of people, we talk a lot about mindset, in our book. You got to have the right mindset. And I think growing up in an environment like we grew up in, Jeffrey, it puts you in the right mindset to deal with what you have to deal with to be, successful in our profession.
I went to Temple University and had to park at Broad and Columbia every day for years. And sometimes I'd come back and my car had a rock through the window. Sometimes I'd come back and I had no car. It was, it's just a lesson in life, literally a lesson in life. And when you survive that or you thrive that,
Yeah.
nothing affects you anymore. What am I going to do? Get pissed off if somebody slams the door in my face if I cold call? Are you kidding me? I laugh at it and knock again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you mean not today? Were you talking about today? And the things that happen in Philly that no one even knows exist, like the mummers. No one knows what the mummers are. They're like the most classic thing on the planet. And if you ask anybody in America what's a mummer, they're going to go, eh. Unless you ask somebody from Philly and they go, oh, the mummers. I went when I was a kid. It's like the greatest thing on the planet. So it has its own traditions. We have soft pretzels. We have cheesesteaks. We have, if you go over to Jersey, we have ponzios. We have cheese rolls. They're like the greatest. It's like heroin. I've never had heroin, but I guarantee you, if they did it like a chemical analysis, cheese rolls.
Yeah,
would be in
unfortunately,
there
they don't
somewhere
do
in the
well
other.
for the
hey,
girlish
come on,
figures,
Jeffrey,
for
you
sure.
live in,
But.
Yeah, no, exactly.
well, come on,
Yeah,
Jeffrey. They have cheesesteaks in Charlotte. I mean, come on. It's not you
yeah, they
can't.
do, they do. But it's the bread.
I
It's the,
know. I
it's the
know.
bread.
Jeffrey and I have had this discussion many, many times. You can't get a good cheesesteak out of Philly. You just can't. There's a couple places that are not bad, but
You could
they're not in
actually
Charlotte.
let me
That's one thing
Yeah,
I can
clarify.
tell
not
you.
What
bad.
is
It's
it?
not,
Gold Belly is like the delivery place or whatever. That it's like Uber Eats, or you ship it around the country.
Yes.
And a buddy of mine owns,
Amoroso,
yeah, John's Roast Pork,
Amoroso.
which is, he won James Beard Award for pork sandwiches. And at COVID, we were stuck down in Florida, and Florida's great. It's got great restaurants, but the bread, for whatever reason, maybe it's the water, I don't know, the air, is not that great. So he
Exactly.
started with Gold Belly,
Yeah.
literally packaging up the bread, the sandwich, freezing it, shipping it Gold Belly. I mean, that's obviously not the same as being there in line to get it, but yeah,
Right, and no one's rude to you. I don't want to
yeah, the
order
people are
something where
typically
someone's not
rude in
rude.
line, especially if you've been working there for X hours. You got a long line; it's never ending. So
But if you go to Reading Terminal and you go to Tommy DeNick's, you get the best brisket sandwich ever in the history of mankind. And I've been eating there for 50 years, so they kind of know me and they're kind of friendly. That's it. That's it. But I've known
yeah,
the father and the
awesome.
son. And, but that's
It's the
Philly.
biggest small town in
They're at
America.
4 o'clock in the morning. They're up cooking. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Phillies, by the way,
Yeah,
are
but
in
it's
first
early.
place right now by nine
It's
games. I
July.
just
Don't
want to
get
make
too
sure
excited about baseball till October.
people understand that.
You're right.
Correct. But I mean, not, you have to look at the paper now just to see where we are.
So you know what? There's a couple big takeaways I think here. We all know about the grit, but we know that people judge grit and what they went through in very different ways. So Jeffrey, what you've just described is there's a different level of grit you get when you grow up in the environments that the two of you have grown up in, and let's go a little deeper into how that turns into process. Like, how do you take that those experiences? So part of it is you just make sure you don't let anything derail you. That's part of it. But there are also just ways that you've learned to interact with people, building
Excuse me.
relationships.
Let me interrupt you and say It's grit is part of it. Grit is part of it. Loyalty is another part.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper could run for Jesus Christ in Philadelphia and win.
Yeah.
We have Bobby Clark, Mike Schmidt. We have fan loyalty, and you learn loyalty from sporting events, and it carries over into your life. You want that same loyalty from your customers, and if you can get that, if you can get real fans to come out to ball games, even if you've just lost 10 in a row, and who cares if they boo? They boo everybody. That's part of the game. You just learn how to take it.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. I mean, we're having this conversation literally for the first time, and I want to make sure that as a Philly comrade, we already know each other. We know how we grew up. We know the famous delicatessens at Fourth and Bainbridge. We know where the Reading Terminal is. There's 100 restaurants that we could name. We all have eaten there. Everyone has eaten there. We've all been to the Mummers Parade. We've all been to championship games where we lost. We're used to losing. It's not a problem. We get there. We're loyal. But the last two Super Bowls we got cheated. I'm not going to say we got cheated, but we got cheated. And this year we're going to kill. We just got the Giants' best running back, and the whole city's excited. This guy's going to be a freaking hero.
I always say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah.
Right. So you gotta
that's
do
true.
what you gotta do. I agree. I think the conversion to the selling mentality is important because look, what's it take to be successful selling today? It takes all those things, the grit, the resilience is, I think the word that, comes to
Yep.
mind, from
Yep.
being the street fighter. And I really think that today's professional sellers, it's still part of what you need to do to be successful, right? You have to have all those traits. And in addition, you have to be smart, you have to
Yep.
be creative, you have to do a lot of things that maybe were a little, less qualified during, the earlier stages of selling. Because as I always say, when I kind of grew up, selling was primarily art, very little science. Now I think it's evolved to, you've got definitely still some artistic aspects. Relationship building is still important. People do still buy from people. The difference today is, the environment's changed, right? So it's not as straightforward. It's not, hey,
Oh
we
yeah.
go hang out at a golf club or whatever. You build these relationships over a long time period. The world's condensed now, and people are remote. It's and really, I think we all talk about COVID doing all this. I firmly believe that all these activities and changing in the way you approach the selling profession were happening before COVID, right? I mean, there was teleconferencing and video conferencing, but it all got
I agree.
accelerated. And I think a lot of
I
people
agree.
got exposed, because if you weren't able to adjust to the different ways to communicate and communicating with different people, I think that really was a big drawback for people when kind of everything changed overnight with COVID. And you can see that too now, where just the ability to communicate with prospects and customers now, the way customers and prospects want to be dealt with, the whole buying cycle, the whole procurement process, especially in large organizations, it's so much more methodical and scientific now. You really have to do homework, and preparation's another thing I think about, in growing up, right? If you were not prepared, you weren't going to win, right? Or you were going to get beat up or whatever the ramifications were. And so I think I see reps now that go into sales engagements and they're just not prepared, right? And it's like, how could you go into this,
Yeah.
by the way, there's so much on the line, right? I mean, look, your livelihood, you talked about the kids in college. Last time I checked, those bills are pretty big, and they're not small.
Yeah. Let me throw something at you. Be prepared has been the Boy Scout
Yeah.
motto for 100 years, and people well, they don't think about it. But if you're not prepared, you're screwed. That's number one. Number two, the world right now, like it's 10 o'clock in the morning here in the on the East Coast, or 10:20 in the morning. I've already had 2 Zoom meetings, a staff meeting, and this is my third meeting, but my fourth Zoom of the morning. So my productivity is through the roof and my ass is sitting right here with a cup of coffee. That's it. And this by the way is
Leprechaun.
the
No.
no, this is the guy that tells you to cross the street
Okay.
or
There you
not
go.
cross the
So that
street.
depends on which day it's going to be. What kind
And
of
it
day
was
it's
the
going to be,
symbol
green or red.
it, it was the symbol in Berlin
Okay.
during the Second World War. Somebody took the symbol and they've made an enterprise out of it. It's called Ampelmann. And there's souvenir shops all over Berlin, at the airport. I own
Yeah.
$200
Innovation
worth
is
of
everywhere,
Ampelmann
Jeff.
stuff. Unbelievable. And somebody's going to grab a nickel or a euro from everything you do if they possibly can. And you have to be aware of what was the innovation that caused that? What was the idea? What made that happen? And you're so right about selling. It's a science. To me, the only art of selling is never letting the other person feel like they're being sold. That's the art. And all the rest of it is repeatable. Even relationship building is a science. Because right now you're in it, I want to turn a relationship into a friend. If I can do that, I win every time. All things being equal, people want to do business with their friends. All things being not quite so equal, people still want to do business with their friends. And so you don't need more prospects, you need more friends. Like I can get you leads. I don't care about leads. I don't want a fucking lead. They're a pain in the ass. You got to call somebody up and make a sale. I don't want to do that. I'm in sales, but I make no sales calls. And, Mark, did I call you for this meeting?
Nope.
No, I don't call anybody. And that's the challenge of sales. Are you good enough to create genuine attraction? Value attraction, not the law of attraction, which is bullshit. No one can define. It's value attraction. And so if you have that, you're going to win. I mean, I have a webinar on Friday to launch my AI channel. I'm going to launch an AI channel that's beyond reproach. I have 700 people sign up as of today. On the 5th of July, when people are drunk on their ass and celebrating the 4th and they're at the beach, 700 people. And that tells you that AI is something that's next. It's actually now and next. And if you think you can get along without it, rethink your position. Put down your beer, turn off your television, and start studying AI every night, or you're an idiot. You're an absolute fool. Actually, I have another AI, actual idiot, because you're not studying the course. You're not doing it. And my goal is to combine artificial intelligence with actual intelligence and put up a channel that everyone is attracted to because it's real. If you go into Chat GPT, you get their answer. I want to give you my answer. And it's proprietary. You can't get it unless you subscribe to it. So it's like this, intimate thing. It's going to be really powerful. It's going to be really good, and it'll be fun. And it's open AI as opposed to proprietary AI. And mine stuff is proprietary. So it'll be fun. And I did a bunch of videos I'll show you. I asked people if they wanted to, this is my book, Little Red Book, best-selling sales book of all time. Okay. But I said, but if you subscribe to my AI channel, you get all 17 of my books. And you get them in 1 second. My AI is smarter than me because it remembers what I wrote and exactly where it is. So it's going to be a revolution. And I've invested a lot of money to be at the top of that field. I think it's important right now for salespeople to get genuine help instead of bullshit. And there's so much fucking AI crap. Here's how to use AI. Okay, how are you monetizing it? Well, I'm going to sell you this course. Dude, keep it to yourself. You're going to tell me how to use AI. I don't want to use AI. I just want a fucking answer. I want to go in and query it and have it give me an answer. That's all I'm doing. You don't have to know how to use shit. You just want, you're going to say, how do you make a cold call? Boom. And the sophistication level that I'm going to have will be my competitors will hate my guts. That's my goal. I want my competitors to dial, like, look at what I have and go, I hate that guy.
Yeah, and you know what, Jeffrey, that's where it comes, where leveraging this kind of new technology, that's where it comes to doing that extra work that you've done with AI and
Yeah.
Paul and I have as well, even
I'm
writing a
no
book
expert.
on AI.
Listen, I'm no expert, Mark.
Yeah,
I'm no expert at
you
all.
don't have to be.
I got other people that are the world's class people. My platform is founded by the guy that sold Alexa to Amazon.
Yeah,
Their customers are the Pentagon and Dell. So I'm like a charity case. But
right.
it took me a month to get them to select me,
Yep,
and I only have to pay them $220,000 a year to
that's
have my
all.
shut. To have my yeah, that's it.
And that's a deal. And
Oh, they
don't
gave me a 15% discount.
hey, don't forget, I'm a party to that whole approach, and I'm the biggest supporter with you and in this, and this is going to come out. I mean, think about it. This is what I love about this whole approach that you're pulling together. You're taking every bit of intellect and intelligence and perspective that you have ever put together
Yep.
in all your work, and you're putting that together in a way that you can do a quick query and boom, you get the Jeffrey Gitomer answer.
Well, you just want an answer.
Yep.
Actually, and you can appreciate this. There's going to be two versions. Once I launch it and all the bugs get worked out of it, that's a PC version. I'm going to have the New Jersey version as well.
I love it. I
And
love
so it's going to start out like, listen, fucker, if you want to make this sale, here's what you got to do.
it.
And that's going to go so viral. That is going to go so. Yeah, I mean, can you imagine your GPS yelling at you when you make the wrong turn? Like, hey, douchebag, turn around. It
I'm
would be so
waiting
much
for the
better
Uber
to
guy
turn
that
right,
just
turn
shows
right,
up
turn right.
without the Uber guy in it, like those Waymo cars that just takes you where you got to go.
Yeah,
I did actually ride in one of those out in
exactly.
Arizona. It was not yet perfected, but you got to start to see, do I ever have to learn how to drive? No, maybe not. So, yeah, it's AI is definitely,
Yeah.
obviously it's pervasive now. It's been around a while, and I think for people like us who've been unfortunately through so many different, you know, gyrations of technology change, going back from the mainframe and I don't know. Jeffrey was probably around Philly during like when they invented the Sperry Univac. I was definitely,
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
born then. Just for the
RCA
record,
was
as
in Camden. Oh, bullshit. RCA was in Camden, and
my
my buddy
dad
was
worked there.
in it.
So
There's a room where they had a computer.
so, but think about it. Like, if you go back, like the
Yeah.
invention of the computer is it's not from the 1600s. It's from Philadelphia. It was actually invented. The Sperry Univac. I don't know. Back in the 60s, I
Yep.
was maybe not born or close to being born. But then you go and you look at the mainframes, and then the mini computers, and then move to client server, and then the internet, and then SaaS software, and all these changes. And I would say it would be like every 10 years you'd have this major technology shifts,
Yeah.
which would really disrupt the existing players and come up with the whole innovator dilemma. How do you change it?
Just look how
Exactly.
Zoom
Right.
disrupted the
Well,
entire
it was a
world.
newer technology that was at the right place at the right time. I mean, you got a lot of those examples. You look way back to, just
Yep.
CRM with Benioff. I mean, CRM was around for 10 plus years with Tom Siebel and all that. So it wasn't
Yep.
like anything new. And there was all kinds of CRM type products back then. But all he did was take a product and deliver it a different way, via the SaaS model, new business model, new delivery model, new deployment model, boom, a dramatic shift. Then you think about now some of the things that are happening, the way technology gets delivered. And like AI is kind of I'll call it an accelerated game changer because some of these other, technologies you kind of saw and then it changed and then, but if you think about like the hardware that goes behind the stuff now, the supercomputing, the AI, the kind of things that it can do, it really is scary in some ways, but you got to be aware of the opportunity. And I think selling as a profession, I mean, you know, how do we use AI now? Well, maybe we have some forecasting model that we got from wherever that uses AI, and
It-
it's
still
not,
bullshit.
yeah, it's
It's still
not
bullshit.
game
The
changing. It's
sales
not
guy,
life changing today, but I do think there's a lot of things that will come down in the tools that are coming out, the technologies as they get to this next generation, where a lot of either existing tech gets AI-fied, or you're just building stuff with AI built in from the get-go, and it just dramatically changes the whole business process, the whole selling process, the buying process. And you know, it's a pretty exciting time to be in technology, and you know, we were in the early stages.
I'm gonna make you two guys
Okay,
beta
all
users
right.
for my new stuff. But I'll
How
tell
about
you
fifty
this:
percent off? Yeah.
people, no 20. I'll give you 20 off. Uh, but here's the real deal: AI is primitive. It's 5 years old. Now think about the television when it was 5 years old. Think about the car when it was 5 years old. Think about the airplane when it was 5 years old. And yes, it'll accelerate faster, but it ain't
Right.
nothing
I do
compared to
think
what
the
it's going to be.
acceleration is key, though,
I mean, it ain't.
Jeff and Mark, in that what's happening now is the pace of change versus, like, if you go back to examples like television, even the cell phones. You know, if you look at over time how long it took for those technologies to become mainstream and get adopted into all the different
Yeah,
infrastructure. Where I think you're going to see with AI is that as people are able to build stuff much faster now, especially on the tech side, it's going to be integrated into everything, whether it's automobiles or appliances or
yep,
whatever.
yep,
And I think that's
yep.
where, you know, the big change is going to happen. And I think if you think about how it relates to our profession as far as selling, it's going to have major impact. If you think about what happened literally from like early 2000s pre-internet, where the salesperson was relied upon, he or she was an information provider, and that's really all they did. And they said, oh,
Yep.
here's all the different products, and here's what this does, here's what our product does. You think about that now, that's almost been totally revamped to when you're a sales rep going into a company, it's very possible that the buyer knows more about your company and product and the space than the sales rep does, right? So that's a,
Exactly. And
yeah,
They've
exactly.
already
So
Googled
they
the
know where
sales
your
rep.
year end
They
is.
know
If
everything
you're, the
about
procurement people are really smart today. You got to be careful. And of course, at Ariba, we did train them for 20 years. So every time I go into, you know, a procurement process, I think about, ooh, I kind of created all these issues, you know, from the Ariba days. But it's the way it is. It's the reality now. And they're going to
it.
be
Cool.
using AI tools in procurement to buy more effectively. And so
Of
I
course.
think, look, AI is a big buzzword now. We are in the early stages, as you said, Jeffrey. It's 5 years old, 10 years old, whatever it is you want to calculate it. But I think the way it's going to evolve and the rapidity or how quickly it's going to be embedded into everything is really going to have an impact in almost every industry. And I think if you're in the selling profession and you don't think this is, you know, a game changer, then you probably will be left behind.
Yeah. What I get are questions from sales guys that say, "Is AI going to eliminate my job?" And you know what I tell them? If you're not any good and you're lazy, you're correct. You're out.
Yeah.
But if you're studying it every night and you're trying to get better at it and you figure out how to incorporate it into your life, you're going to win. It's just that simple. You can fight it and lose or join it and win.
Mhm.
That's a very simple explanation of
So
the AI
Jeffrey,
process.
tell us a little bit about how, if you're not Jeffrey Gitomer and you can't go out and start your own AI channel like you are, what is a typical sales leader, typical CRO? What do you recommend that they focus on? Part of it is researching and learning it and get better. What do you do every day to leverage AI into your productivity?
That's exactly what I looked at, Mark, when I created my platform.
Hmm.
What do sales guys want to do? And let me say it in French so you understand it. They want to make a fucking sale. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. And so, what I'm giving you on my platform is here's how to make a sale in any environment, how to build a relationship, how to get a referral, how to ask a question, how to make an appointment, everything you need to know. Just ask me, and I'll give you an answer in any language.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah, that's something you just
sophistication,
remind me of. How many languages is it going to be coming out in?
20.
Love it.
And but here's the deal. Here's the deal. The sophistication of AI now is when I give you the answer, you can click it and it will take you back to where it actually got the information.
Yes.
So you can now get an advanced lesson, not just a simple answer. That's number one. And number two, I have another button that's going to be on my platform that if you're asking me about a cold call, you can click the button and it'll take you back to everything I've ever written about cold calling. And if it takes you back to a YouTube video, it'll take you exactly to that spot in the video where the answer occurs. So you're not wasting your time doing a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
It's scary to me, and I created it.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, it takes, like, to your point, everything you ever said about cold calling, but you don't have to go back to 700 pages on that.
Right.
You can go to 5 bullets that you sum up. And again, the AI sums up so that somebody can take that, get 80% of what they would have gotten if they read 700 pages.
And they don't have to search anything. It's right there for them.
I love it.
You can be the laziest fucking bastard on the planet and get the answer in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
In any language.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit. So with all this great stuff we have today, things happening over the last few years, what unique sales strategies have you come up with? Have you seen? What are the real game changers if we could sum them up in 2 or 3?
Number one, stop making a sales pitch. I don't want to hear your shit.
Yeah.
I can Google you and find out everything. Send me your slides the night before and come with the one thing that's going to get the attention of that prospect. An idea. Bob, my slides are boring. I'm sending it to you tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to bring 2 ideas with me that I think you're going to like. And if you like them, all I'm asking is that you run with them. Fair enough?
Beautiful. Let's go. Let's do another one.
It. That's all they care about. Tell me something that's going to make my life easier. Because as a buyer, I think I know everything. And I think all salespeople are idiots.
Yeah.
Not total idiots, but, borderline idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
And they'll buy me dinner if I like them. And they'll get not cheap wine. I can get Silver Oak, which is California wine that tastes like shit. Because people have never been to Paris and they don't know what wine is.
Beautiful.
I can have a $5 bottle of wine in Paris, put it next to a bottle of the best Silver Oak on the planet, and you'll pick the $5 bottle of wine every single time.
Yeah, well, this is said by a guy who has a beautiful flat in Paris and spends a lot of time there. So that's awesome.
And I don't speak French. And listen, let me destroy a myth. People think French people don't like Americans. Not true. French people don't like anybody. And they're like New Yorkers. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit with it. But they have the best food. They have the best art. They have the best architecture. They have the best ambiance. It's the best fashion. They're rolling. It's the epicenter of culture in this world, literally. And they have the Eiffel Tower. And who cares if they don't like you? Go to New York if you want somebody that doesn't like you. They're all the same.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's keep going here. What tips do you have for just maintaining and building these client relationships, these prospect relationships during challenging times? Because even with AI now, we've got some headwinds we're going to be going through over the next few years.
Stay in touch regularly. I've had a weekly newsletter for 20 years, and it never fails. I want my customer to feel a touch from me at least once a week, every one of them. And I think that's the only way. I want to turn my relationships into friendships. If I can do that, I'm going to win. I want you, Mark, you've been to my place.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're next, Paul. Just come over, hang out. I'll cook you pancakes. We'll hang out in the library, and we'll shoot the shit about Philly. I'll show you my autographs of Richie Allen, my favorite baseball player of all time. And, we have so much in common. It's stupid that we're not friends.
No, I agree. People still buy from people. That is one thing that, I think we lose track of in this fast-paced kind of environment. And,
Well, we've lost track of it because of Amazon. You don't need you don't need people
Right.
to buy ordinary shit from. You need people
That's
to
right.
buy
Yeah.
extraordinary shit from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? That makes it all really matter when it comes down to it. But it's funny. It's amazing how it's really covers so many different sides here, because what we're talking about is how people buy from people and how friendships matter. But at the same time, we also got to remind our audience here how it's all the little stuff that you do in preparation that gets you into that friendship, meaning that preparation that you were talking about, the researching you do about an individual and a company before you start selling to it. All of that stuff helps you to build that level of trust and really earn that level of trust. If you're going to come in, half baked here with some of this stuff or not
Right.
doing your work, you're not going to get there. And a lot of people they're always looking for the shortcut, and shortcuts don't work in sales.
My statement is you're either preparation or preparation H, and you're one of those two. You're one of those two things.
Yeah, one or the
You,
other.
you know, you
I
talk about
Well, I'd
preparation,
rather
Jeffrey,
not.
and this is the thing that probably is the most frustrating for me in working with salespeople is that they take shortcuts, they think they know, and you
Yep.
see the difference between the people that prepare. Because, like I said, the buyer probably knows more about your company, your competition, your features, your functionality than you as the sales rep do. So you don't have. I mean, buyers are prepared. Let's assume it that way. And I think what I've seen some sellers do, which I just think is, as you were saying, Mark, that preparation, learning about the people. I mean, you should be able to know about whoever you're going to meet, like just social media and, stalking them, whatever.
Yeah.
It's there. And
The
if you know
information's
about
there.
the
All you got
type
to do
of
is
person they are, the relationship they have with their children or lack thereof or whatever, that's all very valuable personal data to
oh yeah.
turn these people into friends, right? Because if you don't,
So let me give you a real world. Let me give you a real world example. I'll fill out every form online because I want a sales guy to call me. I'll give him my cell, and they'll call and go, "I saw you." Da, 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 da. I said, "Did you Google me?" He goes, "Well, no." I said, "Well, then never fucking call me again as long as you're alive, you idiot."
and it's not just that; it's just research. And you're going into a company, especially I've always sold mostly in enterprise, so they're typically public companies. You have, 10Ks, you have earnings reports, you have earnings calls, and the one rep I knew, he would literally before any meeting with a company would go back 3 or 4 quarters and listen for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to the earnings calls, you know, and you get amazing nuggets from that
Yeah.
where, okay, these are the initiatives, these are the things that are happening. And then you go into your buyer and you start talking about things you heard the CEO say, like he was your buddy or she was your
Yep.
buddy, because you listen to these calls, which I guarantee you, for the most part, the buyers, unless they're finance buyers, probably didn't listen to the last 5 CEO calls of their company on the earnings report. And so little things like that to me are the things I look for when I tell people we're recruiting or whatever. What are the profiles in today's professional sellers? And you said a lot of it too. It's that preparation. It's the EQ, the ability to really manage through more complex kinds of stuff to sell. Because if you're just selling stuff that anybody else can buy, Amazon or whatever, it becomes commoditized. And so
Exactly.
I think
Exactly. Tell me
right,
how to
yeah,
use it,
and
not how to
or
buy it.
what the value is. You were mentioning value earlier, and I know this is an overused word, but customers buy value and results and outcomes. They're really not buying products and services. And I think a lot of the salespeople try to sell their features, functions, products, service, delivery capabilities, whatever, and not really what it's going to do for the potential client that you want to be your friend. And look, a
Right.
lot of times people that are buyers, they're putting their badge on the line to buy your product, right? I mean, in some cases, oh,
Yep.
well, people don't get fired for buying IBM. Yeah, they do get fired for buying IBM if IBM don't work, right? Or whoever, SAP, whatever, Oracle, big companies, Salesforce. But the reality is, when people are buying some newer technologies, they're taking a risk, right? And if it works, they're going to be heroes. And if it don't, they might be fired. So you have to almost have the empathy to put yourself in your friend's shoes and think, this person's taking a career chance on me as a seller. You better be, on your game, prepared the whole bit, because if the next person comes in and makes that person much more confident, feel more comfortable, understand their problem better, they're probably going to buy from them instead of you.
Let me throw something at you that's totally real world. Kid comes in. I have a sign on my door that says "Solicitors Welcome." Like, you got something to sell, buddy?
I've never seen that sign. I've seen the other side, like with a solicitor's welcome with a gun or something. Exactly. Yes.
So I literally etched mine into the glass. Okay, but here's the deal. If a kid comes in and says, "Tell me a little bit about your business," I throw him out.
Exactly.
He could have Googled me and found out everything. If he says, "Let me tell you a little bit about my business," I don't care about your business, bud. I don't care if you die. But if that same kid walks in and said, "I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday, I bought 2 of your books, and I brought them by. I was hoping you could have a couple minutes where you could autograph them." Exactly. That kid's coming right in. He's totally prepared in terms of me. Not in terms of, I don't give a shit what he knows. I can Google and find out everything he knows. But when he knows something about me, that has my interest. That's a shared value. That is a perceived value.
I agree.
That's real value.
All right. So, Jeffrey, can we just take a couple minutes real quick before we close here and just do some rapid fire questions? Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. So what was the first product or service you ever sold?
Encyclopedia Britannicas when I was 16 years old, door to door.
Beautiful. Favorite CEO that you follow?
Elon Musk.
Awesome. So tell us about your first quota sales role that you had.
I never had one.
Love it. Tell us more.
I was always the boss, and I set my own quotas.
Beautiful. Okay. Things you wish.
And by the way, I grew up selling in New York City, where "fuck you" is a greeting and everybody wants a bribe.
That's true. What was that product that you were selling in New York?
I manufactured my own leisure furniture. I sold beanbag chairs, and I manufactured my own imprinted sportswear. I sold T-shirts.
Beautiful. All right. Things you wish the 21-year-old you knew.
Probably. See, I'd already been to Paris. I already knew the world. I took my 20th year off to travel. But as a younger person, I probably should have saved money instead of spent it. But I'm very good at spending. And I should have had better prenups. That's probably it. Better prenups.
Yeah, that can make some sense there. Your favorite sales book other than Little Red Book of Selling?
Anything by, Selling in the Cloud obviously is my top book.
I love it.
My second book is a Napoleon Hill book, How to Sell Your Way Through Life. And my next book would be any book by Elmer Letterman, a New York guy that sold life insurance to celebrities.
I love it. Beautiful. All right, last one. Favorite business book, non-sales?
Atlas Shrugged.
Beautiful. Well, Jeffrey, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. And Paul, thanks.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
As always.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Plan.
Thank you.
My pleasure.